Just saying who you are, what your name is, and where you were born.
What do you want to know? Okay, can we leave that in or should I change it? My name is Barbara Nuzzo. I was born in Queens, New York. And when I got married, I moved to Elizabeth, New Jersey. And then I moved to Newark, which was wonderful. It was the first city that I ever lived in. And it was such an experience.
Where you grew up, is that where you like in Queens?
I lived in a great neighborhood, Richmond Hill. And it was very suburban. And we had a wonderful park by us with horses and kids things to do, and it was, you could walk through, and I remember they had a lot of pine trees, and in the summertime when you went under that pine tree, you were like in air conditioning.
Your neighborhood. What was it like to be a kid in Forest Hills, Queens?
It was nice. I wasn't the greatest child. I wasn't the happiest child, but the neighborhood was nice. The school was a block and a half away, so no matter how much it snowed, my father shoveled us to the corner. Mm-hmm. We were out of the house for the day. And the high school was 4 blocks away, so everything was very convenient. No, I like Newark better. It just was more exciting. Mm-hmm. I never had that before, where you look out the window and there's all this kind of stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And when somebody came and beeped their horn, everybody ran to the window to see if it was for them. Mm-hmm. I made some very good friends that I still have today.
Siblings?
I have 2 sisters, my sister Jean and my sister Ruth, who passed away about the same time as 9/11. My sister Ruth was my close friend. Jean was like 3 years younger, so she was like a nothing.
What does that mean?
In other words, we didn't let her play with us. She had to play with my mother.
She wasn't part of the kid.
No, that's it. That's it. And of course, we played with only the kids in the neighborhood. We didn't travel that far there. Mm-hmm. School was great. It was what school used to be. You had to listen, you had to behave. And I remember one day I went in, I was probably 7th grade, and I went in with these long earrings, and the teacher said to me, "You get them off right now." And I said, "Why?" She said, "You'll get them off or you'll go home and your mother will come up." That's how strict they were for New York public schools. I did high school till I was a junior. And then I went to business school.
Tell us about that.
And then business school was nice, but my first job was with the New York Bell Telephone Company. Mm-hmm. And I loved that job. I loved all those wires. And you could be as busy as you wanted, and the day went fast. Mm-hmm. And it was just a joyous job. And we were all women. Remember, the telephone company was basically for women. Mm-hmm. And it was just a joy. Yes, I was a long distance operator. So when you saw a light go on, you plugged in the bottom, and then when they told you where you were calling, where to call, you'd plug in the top, and you'd have certain numbers to put through so you could get them through to that area. Now the funny thing is that I remember is that a lot of times people were going on the train to get home. So they would make a person-to-person call to what was their wife, and they'd say to her, "Is Jim in?" And she said no. He said, "Well, I'll try back later about 4:30," and that was her way of telling him when to pick him up at the train. If you didn't get the person, you didn't have to pay.
Interesting.
Yeah. And we also took care of phone booths, and I remember the quarter was gong, and the dime was ding ding, and the nickel was da.
So tell us, what were you like as a teenager?
I wasn't a good teenager. I had the same problem that kids do today. You want to fit in, and maybe you are fitting in, but you don't think you are. You're worried about your looks. The hair is never right. You always have the stupid curl that's going the wrong way. Your clothes aren't the greatest, though I will say at that time, they didn't make a big fuss over clothes like today. Mm-hmm. Today it's horrible. Yeah, and we'd just go to the candy store after and have an ice cream or a soda after school. That was a big thing, hanging out. And I say the neighborhood was like New York neighborhoods. We were close to transportation. I had the L about a block and a half away. That's the one that's like higher. And then we would take a bus to get the subway. And when I moved to Jersey, it was such a disappointment. Everything was so hard to get to.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a memory or a funny story that you can remember from when you were in your teen years?
None that I'm going to share.
Okay.
I wanted to be married and have a child. I met my husband up in High Point when I was vacationing, and we kept dating, and he would come over from Jersey. He wanted me. and I got married to him when I was 17.
Wow.
And I had my first child in the summer.
Married?
I was married twice. The first time I met my husband up in High Point, and he was sitting on the raft. Gorgeous. He was gorgeous at that time, just like me. And I swam out to the raft like Esther Williams. And I got on, and he said to me, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" I didn't realize it was a line. I was very naive. And I said, "No, I'm from New York." And he said, "Well, la-di-da." And then he used to come over and visit me, and we fell in love and got married. And we got our first apartment in Newark. Well, first Elizabeth, then Newark. And we were married 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Chick. It was really Carmen Chiccolese, Italians. My mother wanted me to marry a Protestant. I married an Italian Catholic.
Rebel.
And then my second husband, after my husband died about 2 years later, my friend invited me on a blind date, and I met him, and that was it. Yeah. I was married about 24 years to him.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. But I had 2 children, and he had 4. So between us, we had 13 grandchildren, and that was the best.
Wow.
Yeah, we both worked hard at keeping the families joined and together, but it was a lot of cooking.
A lot of
cooking. Because he'd say, "Well, it's Mary's birthday, we should invite her for her birthday." And I'd say, "Sure." He'd say, "Well, I hate to invite just her. Maybe we should invite the others too." I said, "Okay." Then he said, "Well, I don't want to leave your girls out, so you should invite them too." So we had a lot of folding chairs, I can tell you that.
And your families got along?
Yes. Yeah. They were good from the day we met. They accepted both of us, and they never made any comments. And I saw my one grandchild from that family last Friday. She cooked for me. It was very nice. And on Saturday, my granddaughter came in from Colorado, also from my husband's side. So we had lunch together. So I'm still in touch with them. And they were like my children or my grandchildren. Our first car, these people are going to think I'm nuts, but we had a 47, I thought I said somewhere, maybe it was a Chevy, but it was a stick shift. Why we bought that car, I have no idea. We were young. I was probably 18. He was like 23 at that time. So we buy the stick shift car, and neither one of us can drive it, and neither one of us have a license. But that was immaterial back in those days. So we used to have to call a friend down the block. "Mike, can you take us to such and such a place?" Then after a while we said, "Well, what are we doing?" So we traded that in, and we got a car that we both could drive. Not a stick shift.
It's a learning moment.
Yes, that's right. And then finally, after a few months, we both got our license. We were legitimate then.
Real adults.
Real adults, yes. And I love driving. When we talk about freedom, since the day I drove, it was such a free feeling to be able to just open your windows, let the breeze come in. And I still love driving today. Still a joy.
What are your thoughts on not being able to drive eventually?
I'm ready. It's okay.
Yeah.
I just spoke to my daughter about it last week, about slowing down, not driving that far. And just around the neighborhood. And then last Saturday, when I went to see my granddaughter for lunch, we went to the Bridgewater Diner. And she said, "What happened to local?"
Yeah, that's a diner that
That's far.
middle of 22.
Yeah, yeah. It's an easy ride.
Yeah.
I like highways, so I'm not one of those. I always liked highways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So
Because,
besides,
wait, excuse me,
yeah.
because I'm an excellent driver.
well, I'll keep an eye out for you on the road. And
I'll be zipping past you.
besides driving, is there anything else that you have really enjoyed doing throughout the years? Any hobbies?
Well, I'm going to say no. When I was in school, since it was a New York school, they didn't have a lot of sports.
Mm-hmm.
They had a basketball court probably on the roof, and we had an Olympic type pool. So swimming was big. And I love games. So I play a lot. I played a lot of them younger too. And badminton. Slab that down.
You play any instruments as a kid?
Piano. Yeah. I wasn't good. I'm not good at anything really. I just have a wonderful personality. That's me.
Love it.
Willing to try anything?
Yes. Oh yes, for sure. And as I got older, I was more willing because you really don't care what anyone says anymore. You're just going to have a nice time.
I love that.
Yeah.
We can all take some of that.
Yes, you will. You definitely will.
So would you say you weren't always that way? That you weren't always willing to?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
That came with age.
How old were you when you think you saw a shift?
I felt the best about myself at 30. I decided this is who I am and what I'm going to be. Hollywood turned me down, so so here I was. Yeah, I was very happy after 30. My dad was my hero.
Tell us why.
He was special. I'm trying to explain the life that he lived was so nice and so good. He was such a good family man. And he was ahead of his time as far as helping my mother. And when he came home from work, he would help her get us ready for bed. I think they wanted time alone, which was nice. And he used to take her out on dates for dinner and the newsreels that they had in New York at that time. And he was a good father. On Sundays, he would make us walk in Forest Park because he wanted my mother to have some time for herself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was wonderful. He was really great. And I saw what men should be like, and there aren't many like him. Yeah. And what else was I going to say? Oh, the man I worked for, Len, he was a wonderful mentor. He was a very loyal, good person. And after my first husband died, he gave me so many wonderful suggestions and he helped me. He would not do it for me, but he would, if I was going to get something fixed, he would give me all the questions that I should ask. And I would say to the person, because there were many of them, trust me, I would say to them, I wouldn't ask you this, but the man I work for, he told me what to ask and he's going to ask me if I did. And he was great. He just died a couple of years ago. We were friends through the whole year, all these years,
Wow.
he and his wife.
Wow.
And what job was that?
That's when I was a waitress.
That's right.
The first job was a Bell Telephone. The second one was RCA. And then because I didn't feel these companies paid women properly, I had a partner. We did a sub shop for a couple of years. Yeah. But I had young children, so I did take that money and we saved money, my husband and I, and that's how we bought our first house.
What was the name of the business?
Scappies. That's the man that started it.
Okay.
So
Holidays?
I definitely have a lot of faith. And that's been, the closer you get to death, the bigger the faith becomes. But I always had God in my heart, no matter what my life was or what problems I had, I always had God. And he's been a big strength to me. And what was the rest of the question?
Traditions at holidays?
Oh,
or anything like
yes, Christmas, with my second husband, we did big time Christmas Eve with all the fish. Yeah. And the smells of fish in your home.
And in your couches.
And I said to her yesterday, I only did it for 1 year in the house. After that, we did it in the garage.
Smart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Were you guys cold?
Yes.
But was
Gets
it
your
worth
guess
it?
Well, it was worth it.
Gets your guests out too. What is your favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
Tell us
That's the
about
first holiday. That was like the beginning of a cycle for my second husband and I. We had Thanksgiving, my birthday, his birthday, Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve, and then we'd go to Florida for a couple months. So we had a place down there, and that was just the beginning of everything. And plus, I love my own stuffing. So
in general. Is there any defining moments to you that really stick out?
I don't know about defining, but I felt I was so lucky with the things that my husband and I did, the trips we made. I never thought younger that I would be doing that, but we did. We just both liked it. We only made one trip to Europe. That was a Perillo tour, London, Paris, and Rome. And then we took a canyon tour, and we took a tour up the coast of California. And then we did things here, Bar Harbor and all that. But then we couldn't afford to go to all the other places that we liked, so we drove around the country for a month.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was so sensational.
Tell us about that.
Well, we started out in Memphis. Well, we went down to Memphis, and then we saw the Elvis Presley residence, and then we went to, I'm trying to think of the places. There's a few of them. I'm not going to remember them all. But I remember being in Memphis, and we were at the Titanic show. So we were chatting away, and he got a little fresh, and I said to him, remember, 30 days we have together. Let's make it nice. And of course he did. My favorite was San Antonio. The River Walk, that was wonderful. And then we went to Carlsbad Caverns and, just, I want to enjoy my life. I don't want to sit on the couch. So no matter how I feel, when you plan something, you feel so much better. You feel better to have a life. So that's what, the reason I'm in senior housing is that I went down the shore to visit friends, and they were in Holiday City. And when I saw the bulletin of everything that they do, I said to my husband, this would be for me. And that's what we did. We moved to Holiday City. And then after he passed, I came here. But I didn't know that it was going to be this nice. I really didn't. I'm shocked. But I said, as long as Bonnie Kelly follows my instructions, we'll be all right. I'm not a complainer. I've learned to take whatever's wrong. If you can't fix it, live with it. I don't like people who whine and complain. I've never done that. My family doesn't do that either. I guess they were never allowed. But I'm proud of that. I'm proud of just going with the flow. If I see something that I can help someone with, or see something that I think is wrong, to be able to speak up and solve that, it to me is the best accomplishment ever. I think that's what we're all here for.
What would you say is the best thing? And on the opposite, what is the hardest thing of getting older?
Well, the best thing is that you're able to do all the things you could not do while you were working. And this is such a joy. I just get up and I go and I do everything that I want. Well, within reason. And the worst thing is watching yourself deteriorate. That's a little hard at times.
Yeah.
Because you get a little worried and you get a little frightened. Yeah.
What advice would you give the younger generation?
Grow up. Oh my gosh. You're so spoiled. Just, you whine and you want this and you want that.
Well, let's focus on advice rather than roasting.
Okay. Be a good sport. If you marry someone and you're a good sport, you make your life so much better. And be his partner or her partner, because that's who you're going through life with. Do not treat your friends better than you treat your husband. Always treat him like he's special, and you'll have a wonderful life. But I want to say one nice thing about my grandkids, that they all gave up their Christmas money so we could use it for a special project, which I will not say. And I'm so proud of them for that. And it gives them a lesson on who they should be and the joy that they get out of it. And I didn't even have to ask twice. It was an instant yes. Because the money that I give them, no big deal. When they asked me to do this interview, somehow they said I could have music. And I thought, what music could I have? So in the middle of the night, I sort of woke up and I said, oh, life is is just a bowl of cherries. And I ran out here and I went on YouTube and I listened to it and I said, oh, that is so me. Life is so good and wonderful. It is a bowl of cherries. I would prefer without the pits, but we're good. Now we're going to listen to it. Life's too mysterious. You work, you save. You can't take nothing with you when you go. So keep repeating, it's the berries, the strongest of us all. Now the sweet things in life, you were just lone. So how can you lose what you've never known? Life is just a bowl of cherries. So live and laugh at it all.
No,
I would have. This is stupid.